Welcome to the Charter Township of Comstock, Monday, March 2nd, 2026 board meeting. This meeting is now called to order. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved. Moving along to public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. A citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor. No other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you're welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent to discuss your comments further. Their contact information is located by the door. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Hi, Tammy Keeler, Comstock resident. First of all, I'd like to say that when we're speaking to you, pay attention, because we're the ones that pay you, the taxpayers, like I said before. There's a lot going on here. Why don't the fire department turn over that money that they have? Turn it back over to you guys. From what I hear, there's still money in their budget that should be going toward that fire station. You guys are going to be losing a lot of money. Shallow shut down. Why? We want to know. Why don't you give them some incentive to come back? You guys aren't paying attention to your residents. We're the ones that voted you in here. And you all should pay attention to us, not lingering off somewhere. I don't know where Christy Sherry is, but I've noticed lately she hasn't been paying attention. You know, we want our voices heard, and it seems like we're not getting it. We ought to vote on things that you guys are planning behind our backs. Plus, I want to know why there's 4 of your board members meeting in like a quorum at Bob Sherwood's. That's been seen a few times, where they're meeting behind your guys' backs. I don't know what they're planning or what's going on, but to me, that's a quorum. And as far as this housing that they want to put in, that you guys are still talking about, that we are supposed to have a public hearing on, that's not for low income. You guys may be able to afford $2,500 a month, but we can't. Not the people on Social Security, not the elderly. So I'm urging you, turn down that plan. And The money that was supposed to be used for the schools, they're putting up that new school up here. Why? When they said that the other schools need to be repaired. Why build a whole new school when our other schools need this? You guys are gonna go downhill. I mean, it's really getting bad down here. We have no votes, we have nothing. And I'm speaking for my neighbors also.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning, Andre. Well, not good morning, good evening. I'm here just to pretty much serve you guys again with a change of the venue, so no big deal at all.
Thank you, sir. Any further citizen comment this evening?
Tim Kearney, good evening. I filed a complaint with you guys. Several requests were included in that documentation presentation packets were presented to almost all of the board members of every board. First, I'm requesting that my fee be waived for the text amendment that I presented to you, and the legal verbiage of protective services be included in that, and that you guys direct the zoning assistant to go to the planning commission for that legal verbiage to be added to the business service establishment. Second, the formal complaint seems as if it has fallen on deaf ears with you guys. As elected employees of this tax base here, you unanimously voted to hire the legal firm Miller Johnson to prepare letters of intent to land acquisition on my property. You do not have a legal written agreement from any of the parcel owners that you approached, and the 3 that you targeted happen to be mine. You received an illegal matching grant. Grants can only be received with a written agreement from the seller. That grant was awarded to you illegally. You went out and solicited everybody in the community, business owners, and in 2024, you readily put down that you already had gotten $25,000 in pledges towards that matching grant. Now we know it's 2025. We know that you were close to $35,000 for that matching grant. The grant was illegal to begin with. You deceived everybody in the public. You went to businesses illegally, solicitation for something that was totally illegal. To all the elected employees in Comstock Township, I'm assuring you my formal complaint will be heard in its entirety. And you can guarantee that.
Thank you, sir.
Richard Hathaway, Silver Hills Avenue. I'm here as a private citizen, not representing any formal public or private organization. I want to speak to comments made by a member of this community, Mr. Tollhorse, who serves also on a committee of this board, I believe. He made disparaging remarks about my friend Jerry Amos online, and then disparaging remarks about me. Most troublesome to me were the remarks he made about Trustee Amos. He accused Mr. Amos of making false statements in reference to Comstock Schools' academic performance. Mr. Amos was telling the truth. The truth is that the performance data of Comstock Public Schools is not good. STEM school is the exception. Another problem is the performance data is not shared with the community and not reviewed publicly. Your attorney, Mr. Thal, spoke eloquently about transparency in his ethics of governance presentation. I've not seen open dialogue about the academic performance of the Comstock schools for state testing in over 3 years. Who does our accuser believe he is helping by trying to imply that proficiency scores are acceptable when they are not? Sadly, we are not helping the students. In the words of the world-renowned American economist, Dr. Thomas Sowell, when you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what you want them to hear. I'm happy to say I've heard some encouraging remarks about the performance for possibly this year, especially in the elementary school. It looks positive. STEM remains outstanding. I look forward to a year-end report that will report that very same thing. Last year's math scores show the example. At the elementary school, there were only 25 kids out of 294, or 8%, that could perform in math. In the middle school, only 18 out of 236 could do grade level math. That's 7.6% for the middle school. I will sum up the behavior of the person making the false statements by saying anyone who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to this great country should never be making disparaging remarks about a God-fearing patriot like Mr. Amos. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John Charlie. Hope we get some answers on the Lumbar property. Hopefully we don't give it back to someone after, paying $25,000, $30,000 for it. And then also we had a board member last year get very loose with numbers and other stuff and everything with lawyer fees and everything like that. Well, receipts came out or invoices and everything. That board member spent $600-$700 in the last 2 months compared to any other board member other than the supervisor. Supervisor had a couple things and everything that, he is the supervisor, just like the superintendent, administration and everything. They will have more legal fees than trustees. But that trustee had way more than any other trustee. So, I think it's one of those things that kind of hypocritical here. You're saying that, hey, we're spending a lot on legal fees, and then with a month and a half, 2 months, you got about $500, $600, $700 in legal fees. About 5 or 6 times that you contacted the lawyer for stuff and everything. It's just sad that we have people on the board that do that. I wish we could just get along and everything like that. Hopefully we get some answers tonight on some of the questions last week and everything. We had questions for the board, and people wanted like a town hall meeting. We had questions last week. Hopefully the board answers some. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further comments this evening? Moving along to announcements for departments, boards, and commissions. Seeing that we have none, we'll move along, looking for a motion for the consent agenda for approval of bills payable March 3rd, 2026, and approval of February 23rd, 2026 meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support. Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Moving along to presentations, we have a presentation this evening at 864 Lombard. Superintendent Hess?
Yeah, we acquired this Lumbar property a few years ago, and we had reached out for some grant funding, and the funding we received was from the housing millage. It was approximately $368,000. We exhausted everything that we could to apply for MISTA, and so I reached out to the land bank and the housing department, and then also the treasurer, to see if we could still fulfill what the original idea of that property was, is to repurpose that property because it was a fourplex, and then I had additional property, which we'll go through in the slideshow here by Zach. And that is to repurpose that to get into the lower affordable housing, whether it's veterans, seniors, or just families, because that fourplex does have 2 bedrooms each unit. And so I had them come. It was an idea that we had and we wanted to fulfill. The long-term goal of this property was not for Comstock Township to manage it. It was just to keep it to get into a rentable, and the land bank does the renting and I'm landlord position for those types of things. So I'll get Zach up here kind of to go through that. Tonight, he's just going to have the slideshow. They're going to answer any questions you have, and I know we're missing one member, so I'd like to have the board kind of just absorb this and think about it, and then the next meeting that we can present if we would like to partner with the land bank. So.
Good evening. Let me make sure this is on. It's always off when I start talking, and maybe you'll want it off when I start talking, I don't know. But thank you so much, Supervisor Hess. Thank you, Supervisor Martin, for having us, trustees. We're here to ultimately talk to you about a partnership. This isn't a situation where we're taking anything away from the township. We are going to work, we're hoping to work in concert with the established staff of Comstock Township to come up with something really special for the community. With me, I have Treasurer Whitener, who is the chair of the Land Bank Board. And also we have the former treasurer, current director of housing for the county, and former Land Bank Board chair as well, Mary Bolkema. And so you've got the superstars here, these two anyway. So, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through some high-level items here. We're going to explain to you what land banks do. We're going to provide you with an oversight of or an overview of what the land bank could do at the Lumbar project, and then 2 possible concepts for you to consider that we've ideated with an architect recently. And then we're going to ask Mary to come up to provide you with an update on the grant. And so, are you ready? All right.
Thank you for having us tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the land bank does to get us started. So, Land Bank 101. Land banks in Michigan were created to address systemic blight and neighborhood decline, to take on properties from the tax foreclosure system that would otherwise lay fallow, not be developed, or had some other systemic or environmental issue that could not be addressed or would not be addressed by the private sector. So as a land bank, as a treasurer, when I foreclose on properties that have economic issues that don't sell at auction, I give them to the land bank so that they can acquire those properties and create development opportunities to return them to the tax rolls. Land banks have all sorts of powers to allow this to happen. They can clear titles quickly via quiet title action to get rid of any clouded uncertainty about the ownership. They can hold bundle plan development. They can partner with nonprofits, developers, municipalities, or others in order to acquire the funds necessary to take on these projects. And in a very real way, it creates significant opportunities in places where opportunity is lacking from the private sector. It serves to reduce real estate speculation, which is something that has been an ongoing problem in Kalamazoo County, Michigan, and the United States at large, and absentee ownership. Land bank properties tend to stay in the community, in ownership of community members, which is good. That means that our tax dollars are coming from here, they're collected here, and then they're used here. These, in general, land banks do is turn liabilities into community assets. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of very difficult work that Zach and his team take on, and I'm very proud to be their board chair. I'm also really excited about this project. The Lumbar property stuck out to us when it foreclosed, and we immediately engaged with the Comstock staff and with Mary in the housing office to start thinking about what we could do with this property if it indeed, was something that Comstock Township was interested in. So I'm going to give it back to Zach to talk about a few of the ideas we had.
All right, that's just a filler slide. We can just keep on going, Superintendent. All right, so there are two concepts here that we're looking to address. Two things: the production of housing in the township, and also the affordability of that housing that results. And so we've already heard from one constituent that maybe the prices are a little expensive out there. And so phase one of this project focuses on taking what's there and making it something better. And so we know that a fourplex exists on the property, and rehabbing that helps us reduce the costs of the actual redevelopment of the property. And so what we'd be doing is we'd be creating affordable rental in that space. We'd be collaborating with the Kalamazoo County Veterans Services Office along with the Housing Department so that we're actually providing low-cost, high-quality housing to the people that protect our country. And we'd be leveraging local and state monies to do that. So we've already heard from Mary, or we will hear from Mary about the grant that was awarded. Those dollars are going to stay here in this community. We're going to invest those here. You're not losing those. So those are going to go into the rehab of that fourplex, which will ultimately house veterans. And so what does that mean for us? That means it's a quick win. We're putting units back into the circulation right away. We're prioritizing affordable housing, like we've already heard. And we have the time to get a quick win so we can do a long-term visioning for the rest of the property. And that long-term visioning includes the staff of Comstock Township and feedback from the community. And so we're not going at this alone. We know that the voices of this community are important. And so we want to hear from the Comstock staff as well as you guys. And then ultimately, we want to maintain the feel of that part of Comstock Township. It's a beautiful part of the community. It's got woodland, it's peaceful. We think that that's a real asset that we want to maintain. And so when we interacted with the architects at 7th Gen, we said, we don't want to see a lot of trees coming down. We don't want to see a lot of high density in this area. We want to maintain that small town feel of the area. Next one.
So after we get that fourplex quick win and get it back into circulation with some units on the market immediately, we're going to move on to the new construction phase. So we've got 2 acres of developable land. That's a hard word to say at the end of the day. Of developable land here in Comstock Township at the 864 Lumbar property. And we can add extra units into that 2 acres without losing those natural features that Zach spoke about. There are 2 general approaches to this. The first is an R1C cluster housing. It's medium density, single family homes. So the objective of this is to encourage a clustering of housing, which allows us to concentrate the housing aspect and leave those scenic features where they are in between those houses so that the families that live there can enjoy them. The other option is a RM multiple family, which is a higher residential density, but more spread out in those individual units. So you still get the duplexes with natural features in between them, but they're a little bit further apart, take up a little bit more of the space. Those are 2 of the ideas, and here's some of the ideations about how we can do those. The first is this ideation 1, single-story, 2-bedroom units, and they're clustered in 3s. So we've got medium residential densities, a variety of different housing types in there. There are single-family districts, there are 2-family dwellings, but the really key points here, it preserves the open space, it retains the scenic features, and it prevents encroachment on the look and feel of what makes that part of Comstock so special.
Thank you. And then this, the multifamily residential is the duplex concept. I would call this a gentle density, where you are doing construction that has a shared wall. So if you look at this, you see duplexes that are clustered together in 2s. And generally, they'll share a wall probably in the garage area. right? And so this allows for a higher density, you're getting more people in that space, but it also creates a buffer between the single-family residential, which is in the area, and also non-residential uses. So, you know, you've got a great park in that area, you can continue to have that. We're not clustering a whole bunch of people into a natural space. This retains the scenic features, it prevents encroachment like the previous slide did. But ultimately what this does is it allows you to get more housing in the smaller space without going too crazy with the density. And now we're going to ask Ms. Balkema to come up and join us.
Thank you. So in 2024, the county board awarded Comstock Township $368,000 for the renovation of the property. It was the goal that you would leverage that maybe with some ARPA funds or with some MSHA funds, but that did not happen. And when Scott went out for bids, I think the bids were in excess maybe of 3 times that amount. So the property has sat there and the award expired 12/31 of 25. So if you partnered with the land bank, we would take the grant funding, maybe increase it because the cost of construction has risen every single year to complete the project.
And then ultimately, well, thank you for your time, and thank you, and thank you. Mm-hmm. But the other piece of this is how do we use the generous donation from the county to leverage other resources? And there are different programs that can happen. And so one of them is the My Neighborhoods program. This is the grant program through MSHA, which provides up to $125,000 worth of rehab funds per unit. Now that might have changed. That was the last time I read the guidance on the grant program. But that is one leverage point that we could use. In addition to that, the land bank does have a relationship with the Kalamazoo Community Foundation in the form of a PRI. A PRI is a low interest loan that we use to spur construction. And so because the interest rate on those funds are so low, it allows us to not only be more considerate about the manner in which we construct the housing to ensure that it's high quality and affordable, but also the debt that we use allows us to think more deeply about what affordable housing could look like in Comstock Township. Now, there's probably a lot of questions about this, and if it's okay, Superintendent Hess, we'd be happy to talk to him to answer those.
Any board member questions?
If I may, thank you. If there's more property that's available around that one quadplex in the Lumbar, call it a compound for lack of a better thing. My wife and I lived there when we were first married.
Oh.
And it's a pretty good sized piece of property, but is that still available for this kind of housing?
Well, if you look behind you, the current parcel or the current plot of land that we're talking about is this kind of triangular / rectangle configuration. And so in the triangle, you see that brown cluster?
Yeah.
That's the fourplex. And so that would be the initial work that we would focus on to rehab that structure. Now, there is land around that. It's a little difficult to develop that because of just the way it's set out. And also we'd have to rely upon the current septic field to support that development. But if you look across the street, that elongated rectangle there, that's the additional property. There is a little bit of a cutout, if you'll notice. So our property is the light green. And so that allows us to do the 1, 2, 3, 4 duplexes on the one side and the 2 duplexes on the other. Okay. It's my understanding that this was part of a larger plot of land, but this is just what we're talking about today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Any further board member? Trustee Amos?
Well, I have a comment about it too. I don't know if you're aware of it, but just east of that property is a gravel pit or something over there, and they use it for a rifle range, and they shoot several hundred shells off it some days. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you, Trustee Amos. Trustee Pratt?
Just a favorable comment. I look forward to you continuing your work with Comstock. Housing, not only here, but around the county is extremely important and needed, and for the population that you mentioned, I think this is a great venture to be involved in. So I thank you for working with us.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Clerk Bochamp?
I think all my questions were answered, except would it be possible to get a copy of this so we could look at it more in depth instead of right now? Absolutely. Would that be okay? Thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield, anything?
No, thank you.
Thank you guys for your presentation.
Thank you.
Superintendent Hess, did you have anything further?
No, I can get you the copies because I have them. And one thing I don't, if they didn't add that the property that's abutted here with the arrow, and then these up front here, and then there's some across the street are all rentals currently. So there's just one house that sits in the middle of that is a single family. So just to add to that.
Thank you. Moving along to fire and rescue, we have the request to apply for the FY27 Michigan OHSP grant.
I'll take that. Chief is sick tonight, so he emailed me this at the last minute. So currently they had came to the board for a safety, I guess it's the highway safety planning grant. And that was for the personnel to man the attenuator that goes out on the highway. They did find that they could add to that grant, so they're requesting to add another $395,000 for a mobile barrier, which will replace the current traffic safety unit. That barrier would outfit a chassis, allow the department to block more than one lane on the highway, because currently we only can block one, but that would allow them to block another. And this is still a grant, so it still would be the same match that they are required, and I don't have that match on there, but it was the original. They're just adding to the original grant, so.
Any questions for Superintendent Hess?
Yes, I just want to make sure I understood what you said. The match would be the same even though we're requesting more. It's not like a percentage.
It is a percentage usually. So they said if awarded, the match would, as required, would be making requests from the capital fund balance. So they have that in there. So it would be the 395 plus, I'm sorry, you didn't put on there what the other, it's on the bottom here. Already approved request, $400,000 in personal reimbursement. So be about $900,000, so.
If there are no further questions, Trustee McIver?
Yeah, it says, requested the $395,000 for mobile barrier to replace the present traffic safety unit. And it said that the mobile barrier would outfit a chassis. Does that mean another vehicle?
I believe it's still a barrier, like it'll go on a chassis of the, I believe it's gonna go on the old chassis of the barrier that we have. We just have a barrier now, it's a single lane. They want a wider one.
Is that the chassis they're calling, is that trailer that is mounted?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Are they planning on selling the other unit or keeping it, do you know?
Typically, they would sell that because on the highway, we've run into problems now where it's just single lane and people we need 2 lanes blocked. As you know, a year and a half ago, we lost 2 trucks for blocking 1 lane, so it'd be selling that unit and then replacing with a wider two lane barrier.
Any further board member questions? Be looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the request to apply for the fiscal year 27 Michigan OHSP grant revision as presented.
A second.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, seconded by Trustee McIver. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving along to Clerk Bochamp.
Okay, so April 20th, we have a board meeting scheduled, and I believe the If not all of us, most of the board will be at the MTA conference. So we need to consider if we want to just cancel that meeting or reschedule to another date. I will note that we don't have a meeting the first Monday in May because of the election. So that would put us pretty far apart if we did decide to cancel it, but wanted board input on that.
Trustee Amos?
I don't think we'll have a quorum, will we?
Microphone.
I don't think we'll have a quorum, will we?
We will not hear, no.
Right.
So we have to cancel it.
Right.
But should we reschedule it or just cancel that meeting?
Well, I guess I'd like to see us reschedule it.
Trustee Pratt?
I believe we should reschedule it. Do we have some current dates that we can consider?
I'm thinking, so we have a meeting April 6th, April 13th, the Parks Board has a meeting, so we could not that date. And that would leave us April 27th. And I believe that this room is open that day. So if we wanted to have it April 27th, then our next one would be May 18th. If that works for everyone.
Any further questions, Trustee Pratt?
No, that is a Monday.
That is a Monday.
Okay.
So we could do Monday at 6 o'clock on the 27th.
No further questions, I think.
Clerk Beauchamp, any comments?
I don't have any further comments.
Trustee McIver?
As far as I know, it's fine.
Thank you. Treasurer Bloomfield?
The 27th was fine. I was just wondering if the attorney's available.
I can be, yeah. I have another meeting, but I'll just send somebody else to that meeting.
Okay. Looks like we've rescheduled. Do we need a motion or just general consensus?
Consensus is probably fine, or do we need to vote on it?
You should vote on it.
Okay, we'll vote on it.
Looking for a motion?
I move that we move the April 20th meeting to April 27th at 6 p.m.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving along to Supervisor, we have a moratorium on solar and wind energy. Attorney Thal?
All right, at our meeting last week, we talked about the need for moratoriums on these items, on data centers, on solar and wind energy facilities. And I was directed to prepare moratoriums in that regard. On Thursday, last Thursday, the Planning Commission met and addressed the zoning moratoriums and passed two resolutions, one resolution for a data center zoning moratorium and the other for solar and wind moratorium for zoning. And those were requests to the Township Board to initiate moratoriums on those. So there's two different things we're looking at. I sent some documents through to you. There's two ordinances. The ordinances are for police power suspension of or moratorium on data centers in one, and then solar and wind in the other ordinance. And then you have resolutions regarding the zoning. And if you remember back to the last time you did moratoriums, you had to do ordinances for all of it. But what we did is we added a provision to your zoning ordinance that allows moratoriums by resolution if the Planning Commission recommends a moratorium, which they have. So the board, Township Board, can do a zoning moratorium by resolution because we've already put that into your ordinance to allow for that. So you have 4 items in front of you. You've got the police power moratorium for data centers. So what I'd be looking for is a first read, acceptance for first reading, and consideration for adoption at your next meeting. Then also on the ordinance to enact a temporary moratorium on the principal use solar and wind renewable energy facilities. That would also be for first read tonight, and then adoption at your next meeting or consideration of adoption. These moratoriums are in place as requested for a year, so they would be a year from the adoption. And it could be extended longer if you're in the process of amending ordinances or doing other things to regulate those uses. And so those are the 2 ordinances, and then there's 2 resolutions for zoning. And the resolutions then are for a moratorium on solar, wind, renewable energy facilities, zoning applications, and a moratorium on the processing of data center zoning applications. So those could be adopted just at the board meeting tonight as adoption of those resolutions. And then the whole thing would all go into effect when the board, the year timeframe would extend from the time the board adopts the ordinance provisions.
And as far as the ordinance, would we need a separate motion for the ordinance and the resolution?
Yeah, each one should have a separate, so you'd
Okay.
have 4 different motions.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Any board member questions for Attorney Thal?
I have one. Just to clarify, you're saying upon adoption or upon publication after adoption? Because that could be a couple days different.
Yeah, it's upon publication after
Upon
adoption.
publication.
The ordinances go into effect,
Okay.
yep. And that's when the year would start from then.
Okay.
Any further board member questions? And currently, as far as it's listed on the agenda, the first one we'd be looking for a motion is for the moratorium on solar and wind energy. We'll start with ordinance and then move to resolution. And we may look for Clerk Beauchamp with these, that way she'd have the ordinance numbers with us.
Yes, okay. So for starting with the solar, I move that we approve first reading of ordinance number 566, an ordinance to enact a temporary moratorium on principal use solar and wind renewable energy facilities.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. Roll call vote?
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. And then you wanted to go next to the resolution?
Yes, solar resolution, please. Be looking for a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 2026-5, resolution establishing a temporary moratorium on the processing of principal use solar and wind renewable energy facilities zoning applications.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote?
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so on the moratorium for the data center, the ordinance, are there any questions for Attorney Thal? If not, be looking for a motion.
I move that we approve first reading for ordinance number 565, an ordinance to enact temporary moratorium on data centers.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Trustee Amos. Roll call vote?
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Motion passes. And last, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-4, resolution establishing a temporary moratorium on the processing of data center zoning applications.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. Roll call vote?
Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving along to Superintendent. We have a closed session here. Superintendent Hess or Attorney Thal?
I think there's a motion to go into closed session that our clerk has.
I move that the Township Board meet in a closed session under Section 8(1)A of the Open Meetings Act to discuss a personnel evaluation requested by Superintendent Scott Hess.
Motion made by Clerk Beauchamp,
A second?
supported by Trustee McIver. Roll call vote?
Trustee Amos?
No.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. We're going into closed session.
Be looking for a motion to exit closed session.
I move we exit closed session.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Bochamp, supported by Trustee Pratt. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Moving along to Superintendent Hess for curbside pickup discussion.
Yeah, so I met with our college hunks that do our curbside pickup, and I informed them from our budget study that we were only going to do one curbside. So we went through their calendar. That'll happen to be the week of May 11th, which they had open. But he actually, in front of you is a letter. He sent it to me. He's actually wanting to propose doing two of them with the township. And let me just kind of go through some numbers. So last spring, we had our curbside pickup was almost $70,000 for the spring. And then it was another $48,500 for the fall pickup. So it was about $118,000 we spent last year on curbside pickup. Chad, the owner, he's concerned by doing one that, you know, we may be up towards the 80 to 90,000. He said that the tip fees, what I call tip fees, but the garbage tip fees have gone up. He said for his crew that he's making a proposal that could save the township money as if we did two of them. And he is proposing that he would stick his neck out on this and he would do the spring pickup for $60,000, the fall for $40,000. So that would still be two pickups for $100,000 flat. So if it goes over, he eats it. If it goes under, of course, he'll advantage. But we've every year it seems like we have more and more, and especially with the tip fees going up, as you read, they're going up 18.2% from last year. He just feels it's as with his staff and his equipment and trying to, it could be, if we just did the one this year, it could be 3 to 4 weeks of pickup maybe, because people know there's only one. So the proposal's in front of you. He kind of wanted to know an answer so that he could kind of plan. But if that would be something that we would entertain to do the two pickups again for a flat of $100,000. Last year we spent $117,959 before increases. So it could save the township, $20,000 on the two pickups.
Any board member questions for Superintendent Hess? Treasurer Bloomfield?
The part on this where he writes, because I know people will put out more if we only do one pickup. I find that false. People only have so much to put out. They're going to put out what they have. It's kind of, I don't know. And I know that our residents have asked for leaf or brush pickup versus two pickups. And that's kind of where I think we were headed with that, was down the road future, Scott, was to do one garbage pickup and then hopefully in the fall do a brush pickup eventually for them once we get our budget in line with a lower fee there. I think is where the board was headed with that.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. Trustee McIver?
Boy, that's a lot of money to spend, no matter which you figure you're talking about, 100,000, 118,000. But with what's going on in the world today, it may be that if we went with a $100,000 guarantee next year, the price of fuel may go sky high too. Who knows what's going to happen? If we're going to do it, I don't know. I think we should keep the two season pickup, spring and fall, and at least we know what it's going to cost us.
Thank you, Trustee McIver. Clerk Bochamp?
I'm not seeing it in here, but I haven't completely read the whole thing. Scott, is it the price just for this year? Or is this like a contract that we're saying for the next 3 years, this is what it?
No, this was for this year, because I met with him and said, our board decided to only do one pickup, and he said, well, is there, something I can do, because he's just afraid that, because spring is always heavy. Our spring pickup, if he adds some of the costs, 18% to last year, we'd be at 82,000 for one pickup. So I looked at it like, oh, if you're gonna do 2 for 100, well, maybe that's something I'll present to the board. And I said, just send me what you got. And this is what the proposal he came up with.
So what I'm wondering is, to Treasurer Bloomfield's point about, we had talked about moving towards doing a brush pickup, but we're not, do we have information on that yet? Have you?
No, I researched, the leaf pickup, which was, we started to look at that, and that is very, very costly. I don't have any quotes yet, but I look at it as, if we do leaf pickup or brush pickup, we have to do it township-wide. So trying to navigate if we have a guy that has 40 acres out on 35th Street and he has 40 acres with the leaves. I mean, we'd have to cap it and, because you have to, this is community-wide, remember, so we have to be able to offer, if we do leaf or brush, community-wide. And I'm struggling on how to narrow that down without shorting somebody out of getting their leaves picked up or their brush.
So what I'm wondering is if, with this new pricing, if maybe we consider this year doing 2, letting the community know that this might be the last year, we're going to continue to research leaf pickup and figure out if that would work for us and start that next year. But we lock into this price, at least for 26.
Yeah, it's really up to the board. I mean, we put in the budget for the total contracted service for the transfer station, and then the pickup is 220,000. So that's, we budgeted, I think, I think it was 215,000 last year. We went over a little bit, but there was other items in that covered that budget. So, so that's where we were at last year.
Trustee Pratt, do you have anything?
Just a question, and I think Superintendent Scott may have addressed that here a little bit. From memory, every year we've been increasing in the amount of stuff that's been picked up, the tonnage.
Yeah, the tonnage has been pretty close to the same both, but it's the cost. I mean, it's the tipping fee cost, as everybody sees, the commercial tipping, what they call tipping, taking it to the waste hauler is getting more and more expensive, and that's just driving the cost. And I agree. I mean, it's costly, but does it help clean our community up? Yeah. There's always work, but it does help. I don't know what we would do if we didn't have it, because, the biggest calls I get is not being able to transport it to our recycle center. We have our recycle center. You could do a free day there, a free week, but problem is getting those materials there. And basically this is the service that does it. And really this is the only, unless you're a single hauler, this is the only service that pretty much I found that will do this big of area. I know they do Texas Township and one other township in the hauling of like a curbside pickup.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Trustee Amos, do you have anything?
I just like to make a comment that I've had some residents talk about leaving the compactor open for a couple more weeks for the leaves, because it seems like they complain that the leaves don't fall until after you close the compactor. So as far as the $100,000, that's a lot of money for trash, but so maybe we have to do what we have to do.
Superintendent, I have a question. Would we be able to have until our next board meeting to?
Sure, yeah, we're already scheduled, for May 11th week. And like I said, as of right now with May 11th, we're bound to, the costs that, with the tipping fee, and I have that, so I can get that to you too. So you can weigh that if you took last year's, and I can probably bring more solid number of the tonnage, and then what the cost is now compared to, it may be with the same tonnage, it might be 80 grand, and you say, oh, well, it's worth it if we do 2 and we're only for 100 grand. So something to weigh the cost.
Will you bring that back at our next meeting?
I sure will.
Thank you. Any board member questions? Treasurer Bloomfield?
Is there any way, Scott, since we're being charged for this by the weight, No,
I know your question.
what is it?
Because we deal with Bestway, and I said, hey, since we're a client, can I get a deal when they dump? And they won't
No,
do it.
that's not what
Oh, I was going to say, but that answers some of those questions, so.
Since it's the springtime and it rains, I wonder if anybody would think or consider, or they would, the haulers, if we would put signs out, if we could break the municipality into like 4 quadrants, and at the beginning of those plats, have signs out. And I know they don't always stay on the same schedule, but we have everybody putting all their junk out at the same time, and it's sitting out there and it's getting wet, and it keeps raining on it, making it heavier and heavier, which is costing us more money. So if we could break the municipality down into 4 sections, I mean, how many weeks are they doing this? You said
Well,
3,
yeah,
sometimes
and
4?
that was, I had brought that up and with Chad, and the reason we do it the way we do it is it's hard. Their philosophy is so they dump it like a republic, I believe it is. So they may start at the Enola up in that area, and then they get down there and all of a sudden they only have half an hour left in the day, so they'll run down Salary Street or River or something and pick up there, start that street. But we talked about doing it in quadrants and doing it like multiple weeks out, like 1 week or half a week is just this quadrant. But their schedule is pretty busy because I tried to move this down into June and July for Curbside, but their biggest client is Western Michigan University, so they move a lot of stuff in and out. So kind of pinned on what one we can do. But the other issue we have is, and it happens every year, they'll go down the street and as soon as they leave, people it's like, oh yeah, it's Curbside, and then they put it out, and so they're constantly chasing that street again and I'm afraid if we say, okay, up by Myers is their first, that somebody driving up there goes, oh, it's Curbside, and then it's gonna sit out here for, weeks and weeks on end. So I think it's better to just try to tackle it at once, and typically it used to take us a week, but our tonnage has gone up, so it is about 2 weeks that it averages now.
So what about if we did just put signs
We
on the
could.
corners? I think that would help them from not having to go back and do another
They
neighborhood.
were putting their college hunk signs there, and of course our ordinance guy was like, those are illegal, and I said, let's leave them for right now, because that was marking that they had been, because most people know now that College Hunks is doing our garbage pickup, so they have been trying those methods. Unfortunately, I know, between the pickers that get rid of some of it, but then we do have the occasional out of Comstock people come, and we've had a whole trailer load dump 4 houses right in front of them and from out of town, and so don't really have the best answer for that, but maybe we reevaluate it. Maybe this is going to price us right out where Township can't do this anymore, and we'll have to figure something out with more of the transfer station. So.
Any further questions? With that, we'll be moving along.
The last thing is I did get a complaint, but I'm handing that right over to Attorney Thal.
So there was a complaint that was made against Ben Martin, and it involved Ordinance 27 restrictions on a township board member being directly or indirectly involved in the manufacture for sale or distribution of alcoholic liquor. And does the board, I guess the first question is, does the board want me to address that tonight, and what your options are moving forward with that complaint, or what would you like to see?
I believe it's on our agenda, so it's okay to move forward with addressing it.
So one thing I will say, when we get into any discussion of it, Supervisor Martin should ask to recuse himself because he has a direct financial benefit or interest in the determination of the board on that issue.
Could we get that vote over with right now?
Sure, yep.
Can I make the motion, or should someone else?
Yeah, you should, as the party involved, you should, yep.
Yeah, I make a motion to abstain from discussion and vote on the matter of the liquor license ordinance complaint.
Support.
Motion made by Supervisor Martin, supported by Treasurer Bloomfield. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I'm abstained.
Okay, thank you. All right, so in addressing the complaint is that as an elected board member, he can no longer be allowed to operate the hard cider manufacturing at Soil Friends located at Comstock Township, and requesting the board to act on this immediately. So I looked into this issue, and I'll just take you through some analysis here. So under Ordinance 27, so it's section 27.002B8 states, no license shall be issued to any law enforcing public official or any member of the township board, and no such official shall be interested in any way, either directly or indirectly, in the manufacture for sale or distribution of alcoholic liquor. And so another section in there says approval of a license shall be for a period of 1 year, subject to annual renewal by the township board upon continued compliance with the regulations of this ordinance. And then there's another section that talks about procedure, because the next section on procedure says before filing an objection to renewal or a request for revocation of a license with the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, the township board shall serve the license holder by first-class mail, mailed not less than 10 days prior to hearing, with notice of a hearing, which notice shall contain the following: notice of proposed action, reasons for the proposed action, date, time, and place of hearing, a statement that the licensee may present evidence and testimony and confront adverse witnesses. Following the hearing, the township board shall submit to the license holder and the commission a written statement of its findings and determination. Under the criteria for non-renewal or revocation, the township board shall recommend non-renewal or revocation of a license upon a determination by it that based upon a preponderance of the evidence presented at hearing, either of the following exists. The applicable one would be a violation of the restrictions on the license set forth in paragraph 1 through B1 through 12. And the issue is in paragraph B8, which does not allow a township board member to be interested in any way, either directly or indirectly, in the manufacture for sale or distribution of alcoholic liquor. So it's important to point out to the board that the Michigan Liquor Control Commission has exclusive authority to regulate alcoholic beverage within the state, including the issuance of licenses. So the licenses that are out there have all been issued by the state of Michigan, the Liquor Control Commission. Local governments may exercise police powers to regulate the liquor businesses subject to the Liquor Control Commission's overarching control. So there's 4 licenses that Soil Friends has: small winemaker, salesperson, direct shipper, and on-premise tasting room. So under the state, so the issue really comes down partially to this, is that under state law, it provides that a person who holds or whose spouse holds a public office which involves the duty to enforce any penal laws of the United States or penal laws of the state or penal ordinance or resolution of any municipal subdivision of the state, they must not be issued a license or have an interest directly or indirectly in a license if the activity regulated by the license occurs in the same local unit of government. So the state law provides that if you're involved in enforcement, you cannot have a license. So that's what the state law says. But the state law also says townships can adopt their own ordinances as long as they don't conflict with state law. And so it's not across the board. I mean, the many townships are fine with a board member having a liquor license in the community. Other boards have adopted similar provisions in their ordinances that say that a board member cannot have an interest in a liquor license in the community. So it's not something that you have to have in your ordinances. It is in your ordinance. And like I said, there's communities that have it that way. There's also communities that don't have it in there like that. The state law just says that you can't be an enforcing party to a liquor license and also be in charge of the licensing activity. So in this case, obviously the supervisor doesn't enforce the penal laws with regard to liquor control. So in terms of the state law, there's no violation. But in terms of your local ordinance, it does say what it says and is, on its face, an issue. So also, in relevant part, for an application for renewal of an existing license, and this is through the state liquor control, if an objection to a renewal has not been filed with the commission by the local legislative body not less than 30 days before the date of expiration of the license, the approval of the local legislative body is not required. So this means that the township, if you desire to object to renewal of the license, you have to do so 30 days. I believe the licenses expire by April 30, 2026, and would go through a renewal process with the Liquor Control Commission. And, you'd have to present something to them 30 days before that, and you can only do that after a hearing to address the proposed objection. So we did contact the Michigan Liquor License Control Commission by phone and talked to John Reeder there. And Mr. Reeder advised that he has never seen a case like this ordinance enforcement. If you're enforcing it, he's never seen that issue come back before them on an enforcement issue. So it's not something they normally see, but it'd be up to them. If it does come from this board as an objection to renewal, it would go to the Liquor License Control and they would make a decision. But it's not that they would necessarily not renew. If they heard something like that, it would be, it's still their decision to decide whether or not they would renew. But normally they're involved in non-renewals based upon criminal activity and issues, like repeat facility issues. So there's really three pathways to address the complaint. Number one would be to amend the ordinance to allow a township board member to receive liquor licenses and be directly or indirectly involved in the manufacture, for sale, or distribution of alcoholic liquor. So basically, number one would be, let's amend the ordinance, strike it out. It doesn't have to be there. It still doesn't stop, like if there's a conflict, if there were any time that a license is before the board and a board member is the subject of that license, obviously they couldn't take part in that decision being made by the board. But number one would be to amend the ordinance and just take that out. Number two, decline enforcement of that section as it's presently written. Township boards always have the right to decline to enforce. Enforcement is a discretionary activity. So that's your second option. The third option would be to hold a public hearing to inform the MLCC of the township's objection to renewal of Soil Friends liquor licenses or to request revocation. I think it'd be more in terms of non-renewal if you were to move in that direction. And, that would be subject of upcoming hearing that you would have to set. So does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do. Concerning one comment. Thank you. Concerning the enforcement area that you mentioned, that under Michigan state law, that there's no, that the supervisor in this case is not an enforcing agent, if I understood. Under the state law, is there a provision that says that or being a part of a board?
No, it doesn't. So that's the part, our ordinance has two different things. It has what the state law has, which is you can't be a liquor license enforcing agent, so to speak, and but it has nothing about that you can't be a board member. So there are other board members across the state who hold liquor licenses for facilities within their community. But there's also other townships that have the same as the same that you do.
Okay. How long has this been an ordinance for us?
I believe, I don't have the ordinance book in front of me, but it's old, like, I think it was from the 80s or something like that, as I recall. So, I mean, it was an older ordinance.
Okay.
And I don't know what the law was at that time. The law at that time might have had a provision like that, but I don't know.
And one further question concerning the other townships and municipalities right around here. Do they have a similar ordinance as this one here?
I don't know that off the top of my head. We certainly could look at the other area townships and see if they do.
And I do have one further question concerning I believe you said the right to decline enforcement of an ordinance. That is new to me. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so townships have discretionary enforcement, so they can't be forced to enforce an ordinance provision. Now, what I would say is I don't like that as a technique. I would prefer, if you don't want to enforce something, that you amend the ordinance and take it out. But it is also true that no one can force you to enforce your ordinance. So you are not subject to suit by the complainer saying you're not enforcing your ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. And you may not be able to answer it because you probably were not the attorney in the 80s when it was adopted. But there has to be a reason why this was written into local law. Do you know the history or the reasoning why?
Well, I think it's probably just to prevent conflict of interest. You know, that's probably why.
Okay. And do you know if this has been?
But it could,
Go ahead.
what I don't know is if it was part of the law at back then, it could have been a provision in the liquor license laws. It's not anymore, I can tell you that, but I don't know if it ever was at some point in the past.
Okay.
I will go next. I think that the only time I've ever had or seen anything like this is when there's so many liquor license violations for serving minors and the like. I think that this is an old ordinance that needs to be amended, because down the road, are we going to sit here again when we have a complaint? And then we sit here with the same thing. I mean, I'm sure I was checked to see if there's something in my name with the businesses we've had, and it must have come up negative, by golly gee. So I would like to see the ordinance amended. I think it's quite old, and I think it's overreach also.
I would like to make a comment. I just would like to say that I think the ordinance are to be amended. I mean, I've been down to Soil and Friends and saw what goes on down there, and it's very orderly, and there's children running around and playing, and I see no problem in this, so I think we ought to amend the ordinance.
May I speak? You know, that ordinance has been on the books from Attorney Thal said since the early 80s. I heard that one number is bannered 83. That's a half a century. There must be a reason for it. I have no idea what it would be outside of conflict of interest, like Attorney Thal said. But there's still a choice. There's still a choice for Supervisor Martin and what he wants to do between him and the Liquor Commission. If we don't alter the ordinance, leave it in place as it's been for a half a century, old or not, it got put there for a reason. He's got to go in business. I would hate to see him lose that license, but it's going to be, I think it should be the Liquor Commission and Ben that makes that call.
Just, if I may, just as this discussion, just to add my support for what Trustee McIver just said, and from what Attorney Thal has said concerning the conflict of interest, I think is, for me, overriding concerning how do we, as a board, change something that's been on the books from the 80s or before, when a member of our board is the person that has the license, and for us to, our residents and sometimes critics, how do we go about making a change when it benefits one of our board members? And I don't see a way around that. So I would not move to make any changes in this ordinance. I think the state liquor control should be the guide in making a decision, and that we should follow the ordinance as it's written, and having a investigation, allowing witnesses to come forth in support of Mr. Martin, and to make a decision, and if I understand correctly, to take that decision and send it forth to the Liquor Control Commission and let them be the deciding factor. Thank you.
I would say, I looked up the ordinance date, and it's October of 1983 is the date of the ordinance.
Attorney Thal, we don't, well, I should speak for the board. I don't have your memo in front of me. Could you state once again, please, the options?
Yeah, so the options would be to amend the ordinance section 27.002B8 to allow members of the board to receive liquor licenses and be directly or indirectly involved in the manufacture, sale, or distribution of alcoholic liquor. Number 2 would be to just decline enforcement as it's presently written. Or number 3 is to hold a public hearing to inform the MLCC of the township's objection to renewal of their of Soil Friends liquor licenses, based upon the ordinance provision. And if you do the third one, you need to set a date, time, and place for that hearing.
Attorney Thaw, am I able to take the podium as a human and a business owner and speak to the board on the other end?
I would not have a problem with that, since it involves your license.
Would I need the board's permission?
Well, I think the board should say whether or not they have an issue with that.
Looking for a general consensus to the board?
What was your request again, Ben?
I was just going to go on over to the other side and just put some context that I feel is missing to the board for your guys' information. And
if there's consensus, it's fine. Or if you need a motion, it's fine too.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
I would say I'm good with it. We owe that much.
so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I got 3, so I get
I'd like
to go.
to hear what you have to say,
Okay.
Supervisor.
Hi, good evening, Township Board, Ben Martin with Soil Friends. I'm glad that somebody was able to look into this matter. After reviewing it, I do see, and I don't have anything in front of me, but there's an ordinance that talks about the sale of beer, wine, and liquor. And when you talk about the sale of, you're not talking about the manufacturing of. So in my opinion, to Soil Friends, this ordinance isn't pertaining to Soil Friends because Soil Friends doesn't have a retail liquor license. And there is a provision in this ordinance, number 8, I believe, that says that no township board member shall have interest in alcohol. So there's an ordinance that isn't pertaining to Soil Friends license. And therefore, that ordinance is not applicable to Soil Friends, so therefore the provisions inside of that ordinance are not. As well as familiar case law, a ban on music for a winery. That would be a confliction of state law. And secondarily, this township has an ordinance from 1960 that is the liquor control ordinance. And I believe it's in the higher upper 70 to 90. And it's an ordinance that Comstock Township has that recognizes the Michigan Liquor Control Commission as the regulating force to regulate alcohol in Comstock Township. And then as well as the Michigan Constitution recognizes the Michigan Liquor Control Commission as the sole right, power, and duty to regulate alcohol traffic in the state of Michigan. So looking at that 1960 liquor control ordinance, it would be my recommendation to comb through that and then make sure that if the township has adopted liquor control code as its guiding star, if you will, and then the Michigan Liquor Control Code's MCL statute that basically recognizes the police penal penalty and power, that if that's their law, that there might be some synergy with adopting, if you already recognize that you're adopting the liquor control code, that perhaps you would follow through with that. And a simple way would be, I am a police officer, but another individual owns a bar. And if I'm a police officer in that same jurisdiction, then I could potentially enforce or ticket my competition. So that's why that law is there. And as soon as this was brought publicly, I want to run a good business. I don't want to look over my shoulder. I called liquor control myself. I asked. They asked me if I have a badge. They asked if I was an FBI agent. They asked if I was a cop. I said no, no, no. And therefore, they had no problem with it. As well as on the application, when I did my fingerprints and I filled out my application, there was a question on there that asked specifically if you or your spouse have police, if you're a police officer, something along those lines. And of course, neither one of us were. So just to take into consideration, there's that liquor ordinance, and that is for the issuance, renewal, and revocation of a liquor license. And a wine manufacturing license is not brought forward to this board for approval or renewal. Our renewals are directly with the state of Michigan as a manufacturer. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to address them. And then my last recommendation, I know I said this, but it would be a good idea to comb back through that 1960 ordinance, because that was some time ago. And then with the wineries of northern Michigan and things like that, as it's an emerging industry and things, it would be good to be up to speed.
Attorney Thal?
I would just say it's up to the board. If you want me to look into it further, I can do that. It's really how you want to direct me.
Well, I can't see getting spend happy again with involving ourselves with the Liquor Control Commission. I mean, spend, spend, spend. Attorneys aren't cheap, but some of us don't recognize that, I guess. And to me, this is, it's an old law. It's an old ordinance. And we're going to have people eventually also that have liquor licenses in their name or something or the other that's going to come, this is going to come up again for us eventually. It's just a matter of time. And I'm sure in the past we've had people with it, but there was never anybody that would think to look at something like this to bring it forward. So I'm still in the opinion that it needs the ordinance needs to be amended.
I just will add that I think we have an ordinance, and it's been here, as you said, and as Attorney Thal has looked at a long time. But we do have an ordinance which is in effect. And of the options that Attorney Thal has mentioned, again, I think the board is directed, our board is directed to refer this matter to having a hearing. And after that hearing concludes, to make a decision and send our conclusion up to the Michigan Liquor Control Board to let them be the deciding factor. As far as monies, Attorney Thal has been extremely helpful, but the term spend, I don't see that here. From what I hear, I gather, and from what I've read from Attorney Thal, as well as some other information, the board has the work ahead, including Mr. Martin in his defense concerning the entire matter. This was new to me too. Before this was brought up, I did not know about this ordinance, but it is there. I can't say that I'm in agreement with the right to decline. That's not the way I look at issues. If it's there, it's real, and we have to deal with it, how uncomfortable it is. Again, I think we should discuss it as much as we need to, but the matter, as far as the options, seem clear to me of what we need to do, and having a hearing and to look at more facts. Mr. Martin presented admirably here tonight, and there may be some other things that he has in the defense of this that would be new to us and that we can internalize and before we make any kind of decision. But again, I think our matter as a board is in the ordinance. What we have to do, is an old ordinance, but it is an ordinance and it's active. And we have to do, I think, our part. Thank you.
Yeah, I would kind of like to echo what Bob said. I agree. It's in our ordinance. It's in black and white. It's there. It's active. I think the board understands that it's not really our decision. It is the state liquor control, and they have ultimate decision, jurisdiction, authority over liquor licenses. But we do have an ordinance that it's our duty to enforce. So I would agree that we should follow what is in there and schedule a public hearing.
Well, I'm going to make a motion. My motion is to amend the section 227.002 to allow the members of the Township Board to receive liquor license and be directly or indirectly involved in the manufacture for sale or distribution of alcoholic liquor.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Treasurer Bloomfield, second by Trustee Amos. I will do a roll call. Trustee Amos?
Yes.
Clerk Beauchamp, no. Treasurer Bloomfield?
Yes.
Trustee McIver?
No.
Trustee Pratt?
No.
Okay. Supervisor Martin abstains. Motion fails.
I will have Mr. Infante get a hold of you guys. Thank you.
Do you have the document? And could I borrow your document to read, please?
All buttoned up with that?
No, we're not finished.
Okay.
We have to do a motion. I'm just trying to find where it is in here. seeing it.
It's highlighted. Is that what we're looking for underneath there?
He had number 3.
That is,
Date, time, place.
You got it?
Okay. I move that the Township Board schedule a hearing to hear, I'm not sure how to word this, to hear the complaints on the liquor license ordinance against Soil Friends. And I propose that we hold the hearing at our next Township Board meeting on March 16th at 6 p.m.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Clerk Beauchamp, support by Trustee Pratt. Do a roll call. Trustee Pratt?
Yes.
Trustee Amos?
No.
Treasurer Bloomfield?
No.
Clerk Beauchamp, yes. Trustee McIver?
Yes.
Okay, Supervisor Martin abstains. Motion carries.
Moving along to reports, we have January 2026 Fire Report, January 2026 Fire Department Public Relations Report, and December 2025 and January 2026 Attorney Bills. Moving along to informational future action items, we have FOIA requests, we have an audit engagement letter. Do we need any action on that audit engage?
No, but I wanted just to remind you, there was something left on your desk from the auditors, so that you guys will just need to fill that out and then give that to them or email it to them, personally, so.
Moving along to public comment, a citizen may state their name and address and may speak only one time for no more than 3 minutes. This time may not be given to another citizen to extend their time. The person speaking has the floor, and no other citizen shall speak during someone else's time. During this time, you'll be making statements to the board without discussion from board members, but you're welcome to make an appointment with the supervisor or superintendent and discuss your comments further. Please keep comments clean and respectful.
Hi, Tammy Keeler. Boy, I gotta dig up some dirt on some of you guys. And boy, I got a lot on one of them. I'm gonna bring up Superintendent Hess. Let's see, Mr. Pratt. I mean, I'll dig up something on your families. I mean, it's not right. You guys go after Sandy, go after Ben. You knew Ben had the liquor license before you guys even started this. Let's close down Bell's Brewery. Let's see how legal they are and how many minors that they serve that I've seen. You guys are messing with all these businesses around here. No wonder they're moving out of here. Man, this is just, I don't care if I'm related to Ben or not. He has a good business going. And I'm sure the rest of you got skeletons in your closet. I'm sure that I got some people that can look it up for me. Mr. Hess has wrecked this town. Let's not go to that Shiloh, because right after he talked to him is when they wanted to close down. Why? What'd you say to him? It was after his meeting with them. I found that out from one of the people that worked there. So what happened there? Find out from Mr. Hess what happened there. Find out why he won't talk to this gentleman and give him answers about his business. You make more money on this board than anybody else. And we are tired of these shenanigans, bringing up everybody's court cases, everything. You guys are here to serve these people. These businesses should not have nothing to do with them. This is their livelihood. Would you like us messing with your livelihoods? No. I even got stuff on the fire department. The chief, you want to hear this one? I don't think you do. I don't have to go have an affair at the fire department. So let's just go there. You want me to bring up some more dirt? I'll find it. You guys are messing with these businesses that bring in income. I'm just fed up with it. You don't know how many businesses, when GM went down, you guys lost a lot there. You're gonna lose a lot more when Shiloh goes down. Let's shut down Bell's Brewery. Let's sit there with the police officer by the door checking the IDs. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Karen Height. Truly thought I was going to be able to make it through a meeting without having to get up and say something. Guess it didn't happen. Laws, ordinances, and things get changed all the time, get updated for current situations. Did we have winemakers back in 1983? Not here, maybe California, but not here. We were a little town when that was written in. I'll just bring up something that was kind of, doesn't fit in per se, but when I moved into Comstock, I moved into Kilowatt Estate neighborhood. And it has bylaws for the people that live in that thing, in that neighborhood. It's not an HOA, but it was a bylaw for people that bought into that neighborhood. One of them is, we can't have a still. That was written back and whenever. Well, Liquor Control Commission would just say something if I had a still in my backyard, I'm sure. But these laws get changed all the time. They have to fit with the times. The times of our country, which is a mess right now, but things change. You can't always stick to the old. That's why you're able to amend things. That's why you're given a governance to be able to change with the changes that are going on in our world. Don't go back and stick to all of the old things. Oh, it was on the law, so we're gonna stick with that, and we're gonna stick it to this business. I'm sure that there were other businesses when this was Nico's, and they had a liquor license. How close are they to a church? There's reasons that you're able to change things. Keep up with the times. Don't go with a 43-year-old ordinance. Amend it. Make it fit the times. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
John Charlie. One thing with the bulk pickup and everything, really depends on how much weight they took to Best Way or Republic, whoever they go to. You get charged by the weight. So when you see that huge number of like, oh my God, $120,000, it really depends on the weight. Labor, it can fluctuate and everything, but when you're going over that scale, depending on where you go, is anywhere from about $93 per ton, which is 2,000 pounds, anywhere from $150 a ton. Now, if you have mattresses, box springs, couches, certain other material, it is actually extra more. For each mattress you take into Best Way or Mulder's, which is waste not recycle, is about $25 or $50 depending on where you go. So, in my opinion, if we're gonna do two cleanups this year, take that $100,000 contract. Because I can tell you right now, if you paid $112 last year, it's going up to $120 this year, $130. You know, so for the first time in a long time, I agree with the superintendent. I agree with him. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but I agree on that thing right there that you guys would save money. College hunks, they just wrote a death wish, in my opinion. They're gonna probably lose money. You know, with the whole entire liquor control ordinance, whatever that is, you know, that's just this side of the room going after stuff that this side of the room has done. You know, you're throwing, as my mom used to say, you're throwing something at the wall and seeing if it sticks. It's just like all the lawsuits that two people are doing on this side of the room. We need to stop this and start working together. You know, again, it's one of those things that I hate to see us going at each other's throats and everything. You can tell the board is split. It's sad. just start getting along and start working together. It's not that hard to do. You can put on a little face and everything like that and just go on about your day. You know, and in my opinion, spending more money of my money at the township here and everything like that, my taxpayer money, to go after something that in my opinion is just so little. And we have an ordinance officer. Why didn't he know this ordinance? Why didn't anyone else know this ordinance until, you know, we're talking maybe 2 years? I don't know. Time flies. 2 years? I don't know. Year and a half? Why are we just finding out about this now? Again, we are picking up stuff and throwing it at the wall and seeing if it sticks and wasting taxpayer money. You got this side of the room doing it, you got this side of the room doing it. We need to join together and stop doing that. Again, I guess my question is for the next board meeting and everything, answer I would like is how much,
Thank you, sir.
how many tons?
Dave Camber. I'd like to address the question about the liquor license. I think that we should have a hearing. If it is decided to send it to the Liquor Control Commission, I think everybody's pretty much in agreement that that's where the final decision is going to be made. If they find that Mr. Martin is not in violation of a law, then that would be the time to amend the ordinance. To amend the ordinance at this point, it would give the appearance of making a change for one of the board members, showing favoritism towards that board member. As far as it being an old ordinance, there's laws on the book that are extremely old, saying you can't murder people. Doesn't mean that it doesn't apply. Laws are passed for a reason. I think it's really a question of why this one was passed, but it's there. As far as somebody finding the ordinance, it's incumbent on the candidate. The onus is on the candidate to determine whether or not he is within, or she is within the law when they run for office. If it is found that Mr. Martin is in violation, I certainly hope he would choose to retain his family business, which is a fine enterprise, as opposed to staying on as a supervisor that's part-time with very limited duties. And good luck to y'all, because this is a tough one. Thanks.
Tim Kearney. It just amazes me that an election takes place by us to put you guys in office, and then we sit here and we go through nitpicking on business owners. I'm here for the same damn reason. You wanted to pull eminent domain illegally on our parcels. If you're going to allow that to happen and pay me $100,000 for 3 large parcels that you just want to put to the ground with no investor to build what you had of a dreamscape, nobody's going to build that $1 billion project here in Comstock. That's going to go somewhere in Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo. They're not going to put a brew pub, a steakhouse there, and 3-tiered sky rises and all of the river walks that you wanted to do. Do you want businesses here or not? Because we're trying to give them to you, and you're taking them away as fast as you can. You're giving away land, Mr. Hess, to land bank. Let it go to tax auction.
Thank you, sir. Any further comment this evening? Moving along to members' comments. Treasurer Bloomfield.
I do have a couple things, and for the deputy clerk taking notes, I would like this on the record, please. The first thing I want to bring up is the supervisor and myself and Trustee Pratt have been working on ZBA appointments. And I have received numerous emails from Supervisor Martin as to scheduling times to finish this up. So with that, I would like to have a response from Supervisor Martin as to where we're at on those emails and finishing up the Zoning Board of Appeals appointments. I mean, if you'd like to answer that now while it's on public record under me, I think that would be a good thing, so I can finish my discussion.
I'm just waiting for a general response and consensus amongst the commission. I've made myself readily available.
As so have I. So I guess we're waiting for one board member who never responds to us that I find very disheartening that we're holding up progress to move this township forward with the appointments for the ZBA. Next, I'm going to just answer Mr. Carney for just a minute, being the liaison for the Planning Commission, that part of your complaint, the Planning Commission did start a work on that last Thursday night with the mobile food vendor license, and that was a mistake that the Planning Commission missed about the length of time for a food vendor to have a license, because in our ordinance we only did 7 days. But on the bad side of that, we had someone come in and talk to us who is a very, very successful food vendor, who they travel the United States and help us with that ordinance. But at the end of that, we had one board member who made fun of this person. And I found that to be very offensive. And to me, when we have people come to us who take time out of their busy schedule, who are not paid to stand in front of us, the last thing we need to be doing is making fun of those kinds of people who are here to help us. So it was the Planning Commission's mistake to only do 7 days. And we acknowledge that, and we are working on that part of the ordinance. Another thing that I am waiting on is Attorney Fall with the discussion that was brought before this board by one of the trustees who felt it was okay to bring my personal life into this with my lawsuit. So because this was handled in a certain way with the attorney, at this point in time, I cannot respond to with what the attorney found in his finding that this township residents paid for. On the other side of that, I have waited, I believe it's been maybe 2 weeks since Attorney Thal gave us that legal written opinion. I know it was before the last board meeting as well as this one, to see if that trustee had enough integrity to come forward and reveal what the attorney had written. But he hasn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Bloomfield. Trustee McIver?
I'm all set, thank you.
Clerk Beauchamp?
Yes, I'd like to say a few things. One, just for the record, member comments, public comments do not actually go into the minutes on the record, but they are on the record on video. Superintendent Hess is not giving away land. If we decide to work with the land bank, it is the board's decision. So it's superintendent should not be blamed or attacked for this publicly. Also, we obviously made a very difficult and unpopular with some people decision tonight about enforcing an ordinance. And I believe some of the behavior tonight shows what everyone is talking about when we're talking about retaliation. The board had chose to follow an ordinance and the community decides that they're going to pull up dirt on people and start attacking them for doing our jobs. And we're yelled at for not doing our jobs up here. We decided to do our job. Now we're going to get attacked, and our family's going to get attacked for doing our jobs. This is ridiculous.
Trustee Pratt?
Yes, thank you. A number of issues, but I'll keep them brief. The reference to that the treasurer made to different parts or statements, the reference from the attorney's consult, I don't feel I'm the one that should bring that up. Should we want, as a board, to bring that or have that placed on the agenda in a future meeting, I would more than be happy to comment. But I think since he's given his consult to us as a board, that was it. But I'm more than happy to comment on that subject. The other things concerning getting together, Treasurer, Madam Treasurer, you, I think, have been gone from this board more than any other party throughout this past year. And during our consultations, our interviews, you were not available for a full week after we completed most of the interviews. We did add 2 additional interviews, which I was happy to do. We have some excellent candidates, but there's other things that did come up, including the one that came up tonight and the ramifications that it could possibly have on other measures that we as a board take. So I'm be more than happy to get together with you and Mr. Martin on this once we resolve various issues that are at hand. And until those issues are resolved, then I think that we can take a pause. Again, you shake your head, but you've been gone more than anyone on this board. A vacation here or there, unfortunate things concerning family, that happens, that's life. But to then go and accuse other people of not doing their duties is a little bit over the top. So I thank one and all of the people that interviewed for the positions. Again, we had some excellent candidates, and we will get a decision out in due time, and hopefully quicker than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pratt. Trustee Amos?
I'm good, thanks.
I guess if I could clarify, so we're waiting for legal matters to be resolved before we move forward with conducting interviews?
Is that a statement to me, or is that?
As a question.
Well, that's not part. You can talk to me separately, but this is members' comments at this point in time.
I was going to make a comment regarding to those who applied for the ZBAs, and some of them are in the audience, that there was a unknown reason why we weren't finishing, but
not to me at this point in time.
thank you for letting me know the hidden motive behind that. Mr. Kearney, I'm in receipt of your email here. Attorney Thaw, if you could address the text amendment.
Yeah, I know that Mr. Kearney has raised a question on what is included in the business services within his zoning district. I've been asked to look at that issue, and I should have something, I'll definitely have something this week that addresses whether your proposed use falls within it. If it does, then there's no text amendment needed. If not, then the text amendment issue would be live.
With that being said, we'll still continue the discussions of the town hall, and I think it was a great idea for the township board to be in a moratorium for the data centers and the solar, and then that way we can put ourselves in a position to protect the township. And I would just encourage productivity and positivity. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.